The engine is starting up.
For launch. GC, go. Guidance, go. Fido, go. Prop, go. GNC, go. Max, go. Eagle, go. Ecom,
go. Pending final steps to cabin link check.
3, 2, 1.
Is there anyone here that would like to communicate with us? Can you give us a sign?
Welcome to the Riff Nation Network, the RNN, putting a slide in your glide and a dip in your hip. Welcome to the mothership, the home of the travelers of the universe. With shows throughout the week, you can find us at Instagram, Twitch, Facebook, YouTube, Spotify, and more. Everything you could want, everything you could need right here, right now. From the paranormal to the supernatural. From comedy to the spiritual. And now, your featured show. Shall we begin?
It's showtime, folks!
Podcast may contain material that some listeners may find sensitive, offensive, or disturbing. We strive to create respectful and informative content, but topics discussed may include mature themes such as violence, explicit language, or controversial subjects, triggering content including discussions related to mental health, trauma, or other sensitive issues, explicit language. Occasionally, our guests or hosts may use strong language. While we aim to handle these topics with care and empathy, we encourage listeners to exercise discretion. If you find any content distressing, consider skipping or seeking support. Remember that this podcast is not a substitute for professional advice. If you need assistance, please consult a qualified expert.
Hello, friends. Welcome to Mysteries Beyond the Scene. We are streaming live on the Riff Nation Network on this lovely Wednesday evening for the first Wednesday in December. I hope y'all are getting ready for Christmas. I am. I was just playing with my tree with the intro. Next week, I'm going to turn this so you guys can see my new tree. I hesitated to get anything on the TikTok shop. Don't hesitate. My tree is gorgeous. And it's about half of what it would have been anywhere else. And it got here very quick. Don't hesitate to get things on TikTok shop. I love it. But welcome to the Riff Nation Network. We are streaming live tonight on YouTube, Facebook, Rumble, and we are podcasting on Spotify, Apple. So tune in if you are a podcaster. I hope y'all are doing well. Hi, chat. Come on in. How's it going? Welcome to True Crime Wednesday, where astrology, yes, forensic astrology meets true crime. My name is Joni Skinner. I am a forensic astrologer. So what we do is we take everything that we've learned in astrology and we combine that and we map for searchers, law enforcement, and we look at all mysteries. We also look at missing person cases, cold cases, and anything. We look at everything, don't we, guys? Let's take a look at the chat. Let's tune in on the chat. Hello, Miss Lee. How are you? Hello, Miss Lois. Lois, I'm just going to bring this up. Lois had texted me, I guess a couple weeks ago, Lois, and said, did you see this? And it was the case that we're looking at tonight, Coach Travis Turner. And I said, no, I hadn't. But the more that it kept coming out and coming out, I thought, well, this is so odd. And I'll tell you where this is located is, I'm not sure if y'all are familiar with where you can go actually in the mountains where Kentucky, Virginia, and Tennessee all meet. And you can actually go up to the mountains and look in all different directions and see the different states. It's absolutely gorgeous. Of course, it's down in Appalachia, so it's beautiful to begin with. But that's the area that we were talking about, and I love this area. It's God's country. I'm telling you, it is. If you've never been to that part of Appalachia, it's really beautiful, really beautiful. So yeah, it's interesting, Lois. I think you're going to be a little surprised. I was very surprised at this chart, mainly because of what I did, and it's a mistake, and I probably shouldn't have done it, and I probably should know better than to listen to. You know how we get online, and if there's somebody missing, we have a tendency to, I go to my favorite YouTubers, my favorite true crime channels, and get the information, see what's going on. I usually don't pay too much attention to it because I want to see what the astrology says. And anybody that knows or follows this show, we don't so much as look for a perp or anything of that nature because that's law enforcement. I want to find the people that are missing. We want to find them for the families. But this particular case is really, I think the outcome, I think we're going to be a little surprised. Wait till you see this chart, Lois. You're going to love it. You're going to find it interesting like I did. I was like looking at it going, there are many charts that I do, and I never doubt the astrology. Now I question it. And I'm like, wow, but I don't doubt it because it's always right. So you're going to like it, Lois. You're going to like it. Hello, Miss Ruru. How are you, my dear? I hope you had a great Thanksgiving. I hope everybody. Hello, Kathy. How are you? Hi, girls. Hello, Miss Cindy. Wonderful show Monday night. If y'all happen to see Cindy's first show, it was on Monday night. It was after Keith and I did the astrology segment on the Otter's Den. Cindy had a great guest. If you're interested in energy and you missed her show, go back to the Rift Nation Network on YouTube. She had a wonderful guest who explained the Schumann resonance. Now, so many people, Cindy's shows can be on energy, which is phenomenal because astrology is energy. But Cindy's guest was so great and very informative. And she mentioned Stefan. And you know how much I love Stefan. He's on YouTube, and he does all the solar energy and the space energy, actually. He's like a space weatherman, kind of. I guess I wouldn't call him a weatherman. He's a scientist. So when we have those incoming solar things coming in at us, he does that. He uses a lot of it. He talks about astrology a lot. So I adore him. He's really, really a good looking young man too. But she talked about him and just super, super show, Cindy. Congratulations. It was just so informative. We need that. There's so many misconceptions of energy out there, kind of like there is with astrology. Now, astrology is not forecasting the future like what we read all the time. We are historians. We look at patterns. We go back, and if the pattern was, it's the same pattern throughout the centuries. So it's history. Hello, Miss Crystal. How are you? Whoops. Sorry about that, guys. I hope everybody's doing well. Did y'all? Hi, Miss Linda. How are you, hon? I hope you guys had a great, yeah, her Erin. That was her name, Erin. She was wonderful. So check out her show if you missed it. Hello, Michelle. How are you, my dear? Oh, he's Stefan Burns. Yeah, he's so cute. He's cute too. He's cute. But I love how he pulls, he's a scientist. He's a physicist something. I don't know what it is, study of space. He's a physicist something. But he always brings in the astrology. And what I liked is the fact that whenever, and it's always, I always say when Uranus is transiting, Uranus is at 29, it's down to 28. So we should be, earthquakes will just rock. And he always talks about earthquakes. And sometimes I'll put in his comments, well, Uranus is doing this or that. But so it's really kind of neat how the weather hits with the astrology, and Aaron, it hits with the Schumann. If you are an astrologer, compare the Schumann to what the planets are doing, and they're identical. They're absolutely identical. You can map it. So it's really interesting. So welcome everybody. Yeah, here you go. Lois, I love Cindy stepping into her calling. It was a great show. I think it's just such a great thing that she's bringing us all this knowledge of energy. And we need it because, there's a lot of misconception out there on energy. And Cindy is really, really so good with it. He showed a photo of a solar flare today that resembled the affinity symbol. Yeah. Isn't that weird? I mean, it's so cool to see. If you just look up, if people would just look up, and what's out there gives us all the answers. It's up in the stars, it's up in the planets. It's all out there. And whether you do it from his point of view with science, astrology used to be a science, considered a science. It's now, they look at it as woo, but it's really not. It's very scientific. It's mathematical and scientific. It's a mystery, and it empowers people. Anything that empowers people, they don't like it. So they have to discredit it. He's great. Stefan is great. So if you're into that, but show was wonderful. And I can't wait to see your other guests coming up, Cindy, or what you do. So it was just very interesting. So congratulations. Welcome to the Rift Nation Network. So tune in, Miss Cindy, 9 p.m. on Eastern Times on Monday night. So tonight, I have a really good show tonight. Of course, we have Coach Travis. But what happened a couple weeks ago, and you all know Summer Wells's case. We have covered Summer Wells's case so much on this show. And what's funny is Summer is within the same area, not like within miles, but within that same area where Coach Travis went missing. So let's get started. Let's take a look at Summer's case. And I just did a little refresher. This is a picture of the home in the back where Summer Wells disappeared. Okay. Let me just go through this. Okay. So back, and this goes all the way, we're going to go back all the way to June 15th, 2001. And I'll just kind of read this a little bit, not all of it. She was reported missing by her mother, Candace Wells, from their home in northeastern Tennessee. It was Kingsport, Tennessee. Now, according to Candace, she had taken Summer swimming that afternoon with a family friend and Summer's grandma after picking up Grandis at the ER. The accounts vary on the activities of the day, okay, which they did. So what happened is Candace states that Summer wanted to go in and play. She took her to the home. Grandis lived in the same area, but in a trailer where Candace, her husband, and her other children lived. Grandis lived on the property, but in a trailer. So Candace took her over to Grandma's. She walked back to the camper to adjust Grandma's knee brace, which she claimed took minutes. Candace returned to the house to find Summer was missing. So within minutes, Summer had disappeared in a June summer mid-evening. So Candace called 911, contacted her husband. He came home. Candace alerted all the neighbors. But what, and this absolutely started in 2021, one of the largest missing persons cases in the United States, actually worldwide, was Little Summer Wells. This was a gigantic case. There they are, Candace and her husband. Now, I'm going to go through all that. That was just information on the case. So I have not kept up with all the gossip and all the information since, it's been a couple of years. But however, a couple weeks ago, it was reported that down the street, about 9 miles from where she disappeared at her home, the police were searching again. And it was a property of around 25, 30 acres, but there were many public access points to this particular property where they were searching. Now, it is rumored and alleged that they took out a lot of soil samples from that particular area. I'm not sure. So I went back and I looked at her chart again. And I also looked at the map, because y'all know the mapping that we do. We take certain points in what we call an event chart at the time that the event occurred, whether it be when she went missing, when a 911 call was made, when that person was last seen on camera, when they sent out a last text message. And we have to take the address at where they were last seen, or where the text message came from. And from that information, we put together what we call a map. So it's a mapping. So what happens is we get the mileage from what we call the ascendant, which is the rising sign, what we know as a rising sign, or the first house, and the IC, which is what we call the angle of the fourth house, the IC. It's the bottom of the chart, the end of the matter. And we take the degrees. So you can either add up the degrees of the IC, add up just the AC, you can add them together. Well, I knew that this was approximately 9 miles. So when I added the IC to the AC, it was 8.5 miles. So I thought, okay, we're on to something here. Now, just because a line goes to a particular point of the chart does not necessarily mean that that's where Little Summer is located. But I guarantee there is something there. There's some clue, something there for them. So went to the mileage. I looked at the mapping, and I'm going to show you guys the mapping. And sure enough, okay, this is where they were this is where they were searching. Look at the red dot to the south and up to the north east is where Summer lived. Look at that. So the pin on the right is the Wells' home, and the pin to the left at 8.5 miles is to the house and the land they were searching. So we know now that whatever they apparently had an anonymous tip, got information, they're keeping it very tight-lipped. Something, now we don't know if anything was found. We haven't heard. There's a clue there. So, or the map would not have taken us there. As you know, there are lines all over a map, but I just did this one because this is the one that went directly to where they were searching. And it was, everybody, it doesn't even really matter whose farm it was, because of the fact there were so many public entrances to that particular area. Anybody could have gotten access to that land. And, it's 25, 30 acres. And there are a lot of outbuildings. And that's very interesting because the chart actually speaks of outbuildings and vacant buildings. So let's go back to the chart, because we know now that the map hit. The map hit on that one area. I'm going to make this bigger for y'all to see. This is the chart. Okay. Oh, there we go. Okay, here we go. Here is Summer's chart. June of 2021, right? And we see that Summer is represented by Scorpio. So we look to the victim is always represented by the first house, and then the co-ruler is always the moon. So we look for the planet that rules over Scorpio. Well, there's two of them. There's Pluto and there's Mars. So if you look at this particular chart, Summer is in the third house, interestingly enough, up to the 10th house. So we've got the moon and Mars, which is Summer, both in the 10th house. Funny. That's just odd. So then we go over to the 7th house and we want to look for the perp. We know there's a perp, maybe. Did she just run away? We don't know. We don't know. We're gonna think there might be a perp. So we're going to look at the 7th house, which is exactly opposite of the first house. It's called the descendant. It's Taurus. Who rules over the sign of Taurus? Venus. So we're going to look for Venus, and Venus is going to show us the perp. Well, the perp is in the 9th house. Okay, so that gives us some information. So just some general information that I gathered from this chart. Now, this again is using Kirsty McIntosh's new book, which is phenomenal, on forensic astrology. If you want to study forensic astrology, it's a brand new book that Kirsty McIntosh, the best forensic astrologer in the world. It's the Forensic Astrologers Astrology Workbook. It's phenomenal. So if we look at we'll just go around the wheel and look and see what the chart tells us, okay? So the third house always represents like the community, it's neighborhoods, it's what the victim was doing, where the movements were going, okay? It's always within a neighborhood. So if we see any planet in the third house, we know that there was action around the neighborhood. So this indicates anyone living nearby or in a neighborhood. It can also indicate siblings, cousins, neighbors. Now, isn't that funny that I would consider down the road from her would be a neighbor? Okay. Not saying that the neighbor did it, but there could be clues or somebody could have seen her. Okay. So It also indicates all forms of communication, vehicles, transportation, and cars. Okay. Now, if a person disappears, they could, and we know that summer is represented by Pluto. If a person disappears, there's a possibility that someone was driving and picked them up, and there was a sudden attack or action within a short distance. Interesting, correct? So let's look to the fourth house, which is the home. It's the home. It's hidden places. It always represents the home. So Saturn is located in that house. Could be a vacant lot or construction area, older residences, wooden rural properties, structural enclosures. It can be off buildings too. It can also indicate wells underground, and it's a slow discovery. Anytime you see Saturn in a forensic chart, it can also mean the remains, but it also gives us other clues as well. Okay. Now, the fifth house is crucial when it involves children because children are ruled by the fifth house. It can be risky behaviors, drugs, partying. Neptune is in there, so it can be deception with drugs or alcohol. Jupiter in there, which can be exaggeration. It can also give us landmarks. Jupiter rarely is a person, but it can give us landmarks of a school, of places or church. So it can give us that type of information. So let's look to the seventh house where the perp is located. Now, what's interesting about this is the perp that Uranus is in that house. The seventh house tells us everything about the perp. Uranus in there indicates erratic, unstable, unconventional background. It is a strike without warning. It can be open enemies. Okay. It's a sudden attack, unpredictable, and it can also indicate electronic evidence. So in 2021, there was plenty of electronic evidence. So the eighth house, unfortunately, is the house of transformation. And we see the sun in there. That could indicate an older man or revenge. It could be a revenge. Someone knows a secret that might surface with Mercury in that house. Remember, Mercury is always about communication. In this particular chart, Mercury is connected to Neptune. Could be somebody that knows something about this, that has drug or alcohol abuse. And they talk. They talk and they can exaggerate. This could be somebody that, that aspect is a liar, liar, pants on fire one. It's liar, liar, pants on fire. I swear it is. It's somebody that, and then we've got Jupiter in there, somebody that exaggerates. Okay. So what else do we got in there? Let's see. In the eighth house. I think that's, okay. Public, okay, blah, 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 communications. Could be a young perp with Mercury as well. So let's go to the ninth house. Now remember, with the ninth house, when we see something like that, it's usually indication of somebody was moved. So they may have been picked up around the neighborhood and they were moved. We saw that with Michael Monkey Vaughn. Same thing, third to ninth house opposition. Same exact thing where he was, and we know now that he was indeed moved. He was abducted and moved. So in the ninth house, it's a distance. It's a longer journey. Perp could be of foreign descent. It could be somebody that is a traveler in the county. We don't know, but that is an indication that she was moved, if that's what happened. Okay. Now, what's interesting is the 10th house tells it all. The 10th house is what is out in the open. It's public exposure. Now we've got Mars in there, which indicates, and we've also got the moon, a very emotional public involvement, very active case, which is very, very visible to the public. The case will draw so much attention. She's in a visible location. Now, when it's a high profile case, we know that. So when we've got Mars and the moon in that 10th house, I'm going to tell you what, this is going to be solved. Whenever we see things in the 10th house like this, like Saturn is in there. And the 4th house, that can be a little bit of a restriction, but eventually this case is going to be solved. This case is ongoing. There's no way that this case is cold. They're working this case. Mars is also law enforcement. But I thought that was very interesting because the moon causes a lot of emotional. This was an extremely, one of the most, I'd say, viewed, watched cases where people were so emotional with this case. And I know a lot of us, it was on lockdown, but I'm telling you what, this was a highly, highly emotional case, was the Summerwells case. So that, if I hear anything, I'll bring it to you all. But that's the information. No, not that I'm aware of, Lee. If there's a junkyard, not in this actual vicinity. This is very rural, very mountains and rural area. This whole area. And you'll see that with Coach's case too. So I think they're going to find what they needed in those samples. Something is there. Something is there. We don't know if it's her, like I said, because we don't know that. But look at that. Went right there. And the mileage was just spot on. I don't think, maybe Rue knows if there is a junkyard close. Rue, do you know that? I know we followed this case for so long, Rue. And Lois says, I hope they find what they need. I know they need closure for this case. The community, it's a wonderful little community, and it was just such a sad case. All right, you guys, I'll keep us posted on that case. I think it's interesting that 2021, they are still working this case. I think it's great. Good. Now, this is a weird case. Coach Travis Turner. Now, he went missing from a little town called Appalachia, Virginia. There's a picture of the little town. I don't know if y'all have heard of this case or not. I think it's made pretty national news. You know, I think for people that are in high school sports, he's very well known. He was twice named Coach of the Year. Travis Turner was a school football coach. Now, his team right now, right before he went missing, was set to play in the state champion, going on to the state finals. So there's no way he would have wanted to miss that particular game. So what happened on November the 20th, and there's a lot of speculation, a lot of rumors, a lot out there. So you got to kind of get through all that, the speculation and rumors. But what happened is on November 20th, it is reported that he went into the woods carrying a PAL. So, but the law enforcement has never really come out and said that. So, should we take it with a grain of salt? I don't know. What had happened is the police were on the way to his home to question him regarding some allegations in a case. And he left the area. Now, as the police came to the home, and his wife said, no, he is not here. Now, they did return to the home to arrest him with charges of 5 counts of child picture, what would be considered picture or whatever. And I can't say that word on here, but child, you know what. Now, his wife has come forward and said, this is not true. These are not true allegations. I don't know anything. And she is denying things. So I think that the family loves and misses him. So we don't know what happened to Coach Travis Turner, but I know somebody that is that dedicated to the kids and the football team would never have just left. We don't know. Was he tipped? There's a lot of questions on who tipped him off. Who tipped him off that the police were coming to question him about a case? So there's just a lot of unanswered questions on this case. There is a warrant out regarding that. Those claims, again, innocent until proven guilty, but the warrants were indeed issued. Now, they have been searching with drones again, and there's a picture of him. There's another picture of him. Let me show you this. Okay, look at this area. If you look, like I said, there's Virginia to the right. The pin in the middle is where he lives. Kentucky is to the left, Tennessee to the bottom. Then there's North Carolina as well, and Virginia and West Virginia. It's right in that little corner. This is mountainous. This is extremely rural area, like you would not believe. So I would imagine everybody in this town knows everything, because I know how these little southern towns are. Everybody knows everything in these towns. Let's take a look at his chart. His chart's very interesting. Now, the first thing I noticed about his chart, when we look at a crime chart, and there's a grand trine, what we call a grand trine, which is harmony. It's 3 planets and 120 degrees apart from one another in complete harmony. We've been in a grand trine all of November and into December. That's usually a positive outcome. It's very positive to see in a crime chart. It's a weird chart. We don't really have a perp, as you all know, because he walked off. Do we have any banners of unaliving? Any markers of unaliving? Which we know those. 8th house, 12th house. Pluto in the 12th house, Uranus in the 8th house. Uranus in the 12th house on that line at a malefic degree of 29 degrees tells us attempted unalive. Was it meant to look like it? Did he leave to make it look like that's what was going on? We don't know. We do not know. We do not know. So let me read what was in the chart now. I'm waiting desperately to get a really good timestamp. I used 6 o'clock because it was in the evening and it was when he came home. So I guessed. So this could be, I'm just waiting. When I get a better timestamp, I'm going to get a better idea. He is ruled by Mercury. Gemini is the ascendant. Okay. Gemini is the ascendant. What's funny is in the second house, we have Jupiter. Okay, Jupiter, second house indicates money. Money. So money was an issue with this disappearance as well. If you look to this chart, you are going to see heavily the 6th house and the 10th house. What are those? The 6th house is your day-to-day routine, your job. This is your job. So let me make it a little bigger. So we know that we have issues in the job, okay? It's his daily environment. It was an emotion, and we've got Venus in there, which could indicate, that could indicate female co-worker. It could be his wife. We don't know. It's a female. Was there issues with a co-worker? Emotional things that led up to this with the involvement of a female. And then we've also got an older man involved with this. Very emotional. So we were led to believe that this is work related. Okay. So then we're going to look up to, let's look to the 9th house. 9th house is long distance travel. That's travel. That's gone, left. Okay. 10th house is his house of career. The career meant everything to him. Okay. So we've got secrecy across the border with Pluto in the 9th house. Let's look at the 10th house. Okay. Let me get my 10th house notes. In the 10th house, this is what's interesting. This, of course, is going to be a very high profile case, which it is. Neptune, confused media fog, public scandal, public sightings, public status. If Saturn is malefic, it can indicate, guess what? A teacher. So how do I read this chart, right? I read this chart, and this is a guess. I'm going to just go out there on a limb and a guess with a grand trine in this chart that money, 9th house, travel, the career was everything. I think he just left. That's my guess. That's my guess. I don't know. We do have the attempted unaliving with Uranus sitting there. Now, okay, here we go. This could be the beginning of what we call a DEATH pattern. Was it 6 o'clock or was it 8 o'clock? Is this showing us the beginning of a pattern? That this was what was going to be attempted? And then does it move around to where Pluto would go into perhaps the 8th house, or Uranus in the 8th, and Pluto moves to the 12th if we go to about 8 o'clock or 9 o'clock? I could look, and that could indicate something completely different if a time changed. Okay. That's kind of a guess that's why it's so important that we absolutely have to have a great time. From indications of this particular chart, I would say took off, contemplated taking off. Now, when I map it, look at this map. I've seen a couple like this before. Look at where everything is pointing in one place. Look at all those lines that are going left of where his home is. Look at that. So what does that mean? I don't know, but look at that. Can you believe that? Look at all those lines. And it's also around major highways. Major highways. Oh, what? Very interesting. That is what the rumor mill on FB is leading us to believe. What are they leading us to believe? That he ran away? That he took off? Or the other? Or Pluto in the 12th unaliving? Which one are you talking about, Lois? Oh, hello. How are you, my friend? How's things going? How's things going? I'm glad you made it. Welcome. Welcome, welcome. Oh, here we go, Lee. Ruth said, yeah, I remember a junkyard out there. There's always junkyards around here in Tennessee. There you go, Lee. So, yeah, Rue has confirmed junkyard. Okay, so getting back to Travis, Coach. Yeah. Is that right? Yeah. Lois, they are saying he took off and now a $5,000 reward. Interesting. Interesting. Question, what woman was he involved with or talking to? I don't know. I don't know. It could be his wife. We don't know. I don't know. And if he was, is that woman still around? Everyone said he is out on the run after they took his phone. You know, what's weird about this chart, because I expected whenever we see things about child P or children, usually the fifth house, and that's where it would go, into the fifth house. We would see something like Neptune in the fifth, maybe Mercury in the fifth. It just depends, because that is where you see things like that, or the fifth house. People that are like, with children, because that's the house that children are ruled in. I mean, it's the fifth house. And this fifth house there was nothing in the fifth house. So it's just kind of a puzzle. I was surprised at this chart, Lois. Now, again, it could be because I don't have the proper time, or we're getting not so good information, or that, could he have had a burner phone? So they took his phone and found this information possibly in his phone, and he took off. Well, did he have a burner phone? I would go every place in the United States, and this is for our friends in Canada. It's so funny. You can't go 5 miles without running into a Dollar General store in the US. I don't care where you are. You can be in the middle of nowhere, like even in the mountains, and you are going to find either a Family Dollar or a Dollar General. It goes without saying. And they have burner phones. So it wouldn't surprise me that there are about 3 or 4. I mean, within every 2 or 3 miles, you're going to hit a Dollar General store. I don't care where you are. So, did he leave? Did somebody go and pick him up? We don't know. We don't know. Joni, that highway truck stop. I don't know. I don't know. Do not know. Could be a truck stop. There's, I imagine if there's a truck stop in this area, it would be on one of the major interstates. I've driven these roads. They're pretty mountainous, but in the like Bristol is close, so I'm sure there's a truck stop down by Bristol, and up by the border. When you get to the borders, there's always going to be truck stops, right? So if you look in that area, And we've got, you look at that. Look at Kingsport. They're close. Look at that. That's right, Rue. That's right where Summer went missing. Was Kingsport. So the coach went missing right around where Summer Wells went missing. So when you go over into Kentucky, and every time I think when you go across a state border, you're going to run into a truck stop. You go into Kentucky, you're going to get into a Love's. They're called Love's truck stops in Kentucky. I'm not sure about West Virginia. West Virginia is like that area because you go across Kentucky, go to Ashland, go down West Virginia, down to the mountains, and then cut through that little piece of Virginia and go to North Carolina. That's how I would go to Camp Lejeune when my son-in-law was in the Marine Corps. That's how I would go down to Beckley and that way, Winston-Salem. So sure, there would be some in that area. Lois said, my girls are in Blacksburg, Radford area near there. Yeah, Lois says there's lots of truck stops by Interstate 81. Yeah, and then 75 is down by Knoxville. And I'm sure Knoxville's got a ton of them. So yeah, lots of truck stops. Highway. So good night, taking my gabapentin IHeart. Well, honey, I hope you feel better, Kathy. Take it easy. Thanks for tuning in. So that is, I thought it was odd. We're going to keep an eye on this case. And if anybody gets a timestamp on this, Lois, I know you're hearing about it a lot because you're around that area more. And you see a timestamp. We'll do another chart. But this chart is showing us one area. And that's west, basically. It's really just showing us west. Well, there's a couple other lines, but look at that concentration of lines. It's crazy. So that is the case. And we're not getting a lot of information from law enforcement either on this case. Another case where they are keeping very, very hush hush. So if you know anything, Lois, or hear or get, thank you, it's all over the news. Yeah, in your area. If you get any type of, let's look at that chart, see if we're going to find him on a camera. Now, if we want to, now, this is interesting. Neptune is up in the 10th house. Neptune represents cameras. The 10th house would be in public view. We might see some camera. He might have been spotted on a camera if he did indeed leave the area because Neptune's up in that 10th house. Oh yeah, please do. You're spot on. Yeah, they are. I'm telling you, Kirsty's method, ask Rue, it does not fail. Definitely get posters up. Calls will come in. Oh, it's all over. I'm sure, Lois, there's posters that people are searching everywhere. And they've got, I'm sure, and now there's a reward. So, yeah, definitely let me know. It's all over the news. Well, you know, I hope for his family's sake that he is found. And if he isn't, come and face the music. Everybody's innocent till proven guilty. Come and face the music. So we'll see what happens. Oh, the feds are involved now. That's interesting. So the marshal, if the U.S. Marshals are involved, they'll track him down. The guy that was missing up around where Linda lives. That was just horrific what he did to his 3 beautiful daughters. When the FBI came in, it was within a couple of weeks they had found him. So when the federal people get involved and the federal people are doing law enforcement, things like they should be doing, that they're the best. And, there's marshals and they got those tracking teams. They're great. They'll find him. So, and they have brought out drones, dogs, everything. It's crazy. So does anybody else have any other thoughts in the chat before we go for the night? Does anybody else have any other thoughts on this particular case? We'll have to keep, there's a closer. That's crazy, isn't it? That's crazy. Yeah, Linda, remember that one, Linda? And that was very scary for the people in the community because nobody knew this was a guy that was a survivalist guy and not stable by any stretch of the imagination. And it's very frightening for communities. That is wild. Yeah, the lines are wild. I've only seen a couple of charts do that, and that's exactly where I would send people. Because look at that, you guys. Look at it's like this map. It's like the universe is saying, "Look, look right there. Please look right there." It's like, I'm not going to give you any more information. Just open your freaking eyes. Look. And that Grand Trine. That Grand Trine is always very good to see in a crime chart for a missing persons case. So I hope things work out for the family, and face the music. But we'll have to wait and see. It could have been the beginning of a pattern chart too. And with these charts, that'd be interesting to do a chart around 8 p.m. and see where Uranus and Pluto land. Because it's called, when you do a number of charts like that, it's called a pattern, a DEATH pattern, and you can follow the pattern. So it's like the different steps that have led up to a particular incident. And this, it's very similar to a beginning pattern. So that might be interesting. Maybe I'll do that and show you guys next week. I'll do like a chart, but let's face it, right now at even 6 o'clock, it's pitch black out. It's dark. So was it earlier? Don't know. We don't know. So if you hear anything, Lois, yeah, definitely let me know. Yeah, Lee says follow the chart. I know it. Follow that map. Crap, look at that. Well, y'all I hope y'all are getting ready for Christmas, getting all your shopping done. I heard today, this afternoon, and of course I'm watching Jupiter because, again, when we saw Jupiter in the U.S. Map, I know y'all are probably sick of me saying this, but that we would have record-breaking money with, like, the stock market is at a record high. And now Jupiter, I just heard today that Black Friday was the largest spending. We hit a record in the U.S. of the largest spending ever on Black Friday. So there was a lot of great sales on Black Friday. Great show. Always interesting. Have a great night, y'all. Well, thanks for tuning in, everybody. I love what I do, and I love talking to you guys. Absolutely, Lois. If you hear something, just shoot me a DM, and we'll take a look at it. You guys have a great week, and I'll see y'all in a week with a couple more cases. I'm going to go ahead and do the chart for 8 p.m. and we'll see what it says. We'll see if we got any kind of a pattern. But in the meantime, if y'all hear anything on Summer Wells and or Coach, let me know, and we'll keep looking at them. But I'm always listening to true crime all week long. Oh, Lee is wrapping up Almost done. Just have to get scratch offs for the adults. Gifts that can keep giving. Absolutely. I get the scratch off to and from for my gifts. Down here we have the scratch offs have to and from the little cards that you put on your presents. It's a cute little gift. So yeah, same here. I'm wrapping it up too. I'm getting done as well. So you guys have a great week, and I will see you guys next week for another edition. Thanks so much for tuning in. I appreciate every one of you guys, and have a great week. And I will see you guys Wednesday. Have a great weekend. Thank you.